Hi, it's Kute here. You know, a lot of people often ask me how I got started in the field of personal growth. And it's a hard question for me to answer because I don't really feel like it was a moment when I started. I mean, for me, personal growth, self-help, the human potential movement has been in my blood. For me, it's a passion, it's a lifestyle. I live it, I breathe it, I eat it. For me, it's just life. It's never been a business for me, you know. From my first memory as a young boy, literally was this deep sense of calling, a deep sense that I was here to make a difference, that my life wasn't really my life, that it was here to inspire people. And I always had this feeling that I would reach a lot of people in my lifetime. It was just this inkling, you know, this sense that I had. And I remember being age 5 and literally being this chubby kid, and I remember being lost in the crowd and seeing a crippled woman in the crowd crawling on the floor. And I'll never forget seeing this crippled woman crawling on the floor, picking up the sand that this man walked on and wiping it on her face and standing up. You could say it was a miracle. Week after week, I grew up seeing this same man who's the sand she picked up look at a woman in a wheelchair and say, "Stand up. You're not sick, stand up." And she would say, "But I'm sick." And he would say, "Stand up." And this would go back and forth. And she would stand up. I would see blind people see and deaf people hear and literally people who had disease and illness be cured. Basically, this man was my father. And he built 300 churches in Ghana, West Africa, 1 church in London. And I was really privileged to be his son because I got to see a true spiritual icon and master, a man who was a deep mystic and spiritual being who traveled the world impacting the lives of millions of people. And I grew up with this sense of possibility. I grew up with the sense that anything was possible, and it amazed me that we lived such limited lives. And I would see people as a kid, you know, who would just go to work, and they just seemed like they would go to work, wake up in a box, go to sleep in a box, eat in a box, go to work in a box, and you know, they just seemed so miserable. And as a kid, I knew that surely there was more to life than just waking up, going to work, having babies, having sex, going to sleep, having a vacation. Surely there was more, and I started to ask a lot of questions. And I went on a quest. Age 8, I literally gave my first talk in my father's church. At age 14, I was ordained as a minister, given the mandate to take over my father's spiritual organization. But you know when you have that sense like something's not quite right, something isn't quite aligned. I knew I wanted to make a difference, but I knew that wasn't quite my path. But because I wanted my father's love and acceptance, I went down that road, you know, because I wanted my father's love and acceptance. I said, okay. And I'll never forget the moment when I was literally ordained as a 14-year-old kid, given the mandate to take over his spiritual organization with literally hundreds and thousands of people pinning their hopes on me and their expectations on me, feeling and knowing that there was something that wasn't truly aligned. And it took me about 4 years, literally 4 years, till I was 17, 18 years old, to muster up the courage to take the action that I knew and bring myself into authentic alignment. And what that meant was leaving. So I left everything behind. I had a conversation with my father, left everything behind, and came to the US. And I believe that whenever you follow your true heart's knowing, whenever you follow your authentic truth, I believe the universe rises to meet you. The universe supports you when you say yes to your soul, when you say yes to your soul's knowing. I saw my path set out for me. I knew I could follow the path that was expected of me, but I felt my own soul dying if I followed that path. Or I could follow the path of my soul, which was a little unknown, which was terrifying. And I knew the truth. And I think many of us, we feel something inside, but we don't follow the truth. We don't follow that knowing. And to not follow our knowing is a form of soul suicide. And I believe one reason why many of us live unfulfilled lives, because there's a deeper knowing that we're not acknowledging. And so I came to the US, cut a long story short, I won a green card in the lottery. literally the green card lottery, came to the US, 2 suitcases, $1,200 in my pocket, knew no one, and went on a journey. And I went and found many teachers and authors and mentors, many of the folks that I had read about as a kid, the Jack Canfields of the world, the Marianne Williamsons, the Chopras. Went and found them, went to the seminars, studied from some of them, got to know many of them. And from that moment, I started also traveling the world and went to places like India and walked the Camino in northern Spain and Thailand and Japan and Israel. And really, I went on a quest to try and find some answers for myself. I was tired of just reading the books. I wanted to embody. I wanted to know what Gandhi knew. I wanted to know what Martin Luther King knew. I wanted to know what all these authors had been teaching and talking about in the books. I wanted to know it for myself. So I literally put everything in storage and went on my own journey and went on my own quest. I came to this point in my life where I had read all of the books and been to the seminars, and I was just tired of reading, and I was kind of at this point where honestly I felt sort of entitled. I had this feeling like, my life wasn't where I wanted it to be, and I kind of hit rock bottom. I wasn't happy. I wasn't making any money, and I had this certain entitlement attitude, like God owes me something, and I was mad at the world. I was mad at God. I was kind of upset at people. This idea that like people owe me something, and so I put everything in storage because I realized my life wasn't working, and I made a commitment, made a decision that I would go on this quest and travel the world and find some answers. And when I traveled the world is when I realized something very profound, is when I started traveling to India. And I'll never forget being in India for months with some of the poorest people in the world. One of my friends lived in one of the biggest slums in Asia called Dharavi, and one day he invited me into his house. He lived literally in a tiny 8x10 room, and in this 8x10 room, he invited me into his house, and there was his wife, and there was his 2 kids, and there was his mother, and there was his father, and they lived in this tiny room, and I was so shocked because this man seemed so happy. And I asked him, and I said, Vijay, are you happy? And he looked at me like I was crazy, like, what kind of question is that? Are you happy? Of course I'm happy. We must be happy. He looked at me with a twinkle in his eye. And in that moment, I realized my own lack of gratitude, my own entitlement, and I looked at this man and how he woke up in the morning and he worked and he worked and he was hustling, and he had no expectations of anyone. There was no sense of entitlement that this man had. And as I talked to him and I realized how happy he was, he slept on the floor with his family. He bathed over here. The kitchen was over here in this tiny room, but he was truly free. And I realized one of the reasons he was free is because he didn't have an ounce of entitlement. And I went home and I really thought about that. And that's when I realized, literally, no one's coming to save me. No one's going to float from the clouds and change my life. No one's going to walk up into my house and hand me money and say, hey, here's $1 million. No one's going to love me like I've always imagined being loved. No one's going to be the one that takes away my pain. No one's going to be the one that validates me and makes me feel so good about myself. No one's going to do it. That if it's going to be done, it's up to me. What I realized traveling through the slums and the streets and the temples of India is that no one's coming, and that literally I have been, you have been, we have been given so much. We've been given this body. There is an innate intelligence. There is a living, breathing energy inside of us. There is so much potential inside of us that we have already been given. That it's our job to manifest this potential in the physical world. Part of why we're here as human beings is to manifest this potential. And if you look at the great ones like a Gandhi, the great ones like a Mother Teresa, the great ones like a MLK, a Martin Luther King, or a Bruce Lee, or a Pharrell, or an Oprah, they didn't wait for anyone to save them. They didn't sit around blaming, moaning, groaning. They took control of their lives, and they did what they could with who they were, where they were at that time. They didn't wait for another moment or a special date in the future. They did what they could at this moment. They gave up blame. They gave up shame. They gave up what no longer served them, and they focused on what they could do. So I believe that that's one of the keys that really inspired me as I traveled throughout India to create the You.Are.The.One book. Many of us were waiting for a guru to save us. You know, I was in India and I traveled, and as much as I believe in teachers and gurus and many enlightened beings, I also realized that no matter how much you're blessed by someone, no matter how much someone else gives you, at the end of the day is your life. At the end of the day, you are the one that still has to go back into your life, back into your reality, and do the work. When I came back from India and I had this epiphany, I realized, wow, I was blessed by the guru. I was blessed by this Guruji and that person, had these amazing experiences. But still, I was the one that had to go back into my reality and do the daily work. Transformation is a process. It doesn't magically happen. I believe that the way to receive grace that is always available is to do our part. Is to do our part. You know, no one is going to magically go to the gym and lift weights and get on the treadmill and lose 30 pounds for you. You're the one, my friend. When you take that level of responsibility for your life, something shifts. When you take that level of responsibility for your part and your role in creating the life that you want, that's when grace flows, and that's when I saw the universe truly open up for me. For years, I kind of wanted someone to discover my work. You know, there's many of us, we have a message. There's many of us that have a voice or a book we want to write, and we're waiting for someone to market us, someone to do it for us, someone to discover us, for Oprah to come and put you on TV. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But if you have a message, if you have a gift, no one's coming. You're the one. You're the one that is uniquely designed to step up and share your message with the world. And I believe, and what I did was I began many years ago, and I stopped waiting for anyone to save me, to help me, to give to me, and I just began one step at a time, one video at a time, one blog at a time, one tweet at a time, saying, you know what, I'm just going to offer my heart. I'm going to offer my gift. I've been given so much. I'm just going to offer what I have, where I'm at in this moment. And I gave up waiting. And from that moment, the universe responded. People responded. My message started to catch on. Many of you watched my videos and were impacted by that. And I think back now, if I had waited for some special moment, if I'd waited to be more enlightened, if I'd waited, then maybe we wouldn't be here right now, and you wouldn't be reading the You.Are.The.One book. So if there's something you're waiting for, if there's someone you're waiting for, if there's a sign that you're waiting for, this moment of your life right now is your sign that you are ready, that you are the one. It's time, my friends, to embrace yourself. It's time, my friends, to say yes to yourself. It's time, my friends, for you to stop looking outside, to stop looking for another hero out there, to stop looking to the government, to stop looking to Bruce Lee, Bob Marley, Oprah, Pharrell, and to realize that there's greatness inside of you. Greatness is not something that happens once in a while. Greatness, my friends, greatness is not some mystical thing that's bestowed upon you by the angels. Greatness is a moment-to-moment choice that you get to choose in the midst of your daily life. Greatness is your choice. When you say, I will not be a slave to my addictions. I will not be a slave to my limitations. I will rise up and do what it takes and take the actions in the real world to take my vision, to take my ideas, to take my dreams and manifest it in the world. And the world needs your visions. The world needs your dreams. The world needs your ideas more than ever, my friends. The world is waiting for you because you are the one. So, what will you choose? It's your time. Are you ready?